What's up, people, and welcome to another Battle Angel Alita discussion video. So for this episode, I will be going over something a little bit different from what I've been talking about up till now. We talked about the movie, we talked about the comic, we talked about the novel, yada yada yada. So what do I want to talk about this time? Well, this is something that I wanted to cover for quite a bit. And I couldn't because there were certain topics that I needed to go over first to be able to talk about this. But now that I brought out that video called The Many Faces of Alita and revealed a few things, I felt that now was a good time to bring this up. And so, of course, as fans of Alita Battle Angel the movie or Battle Angel Alita the comic series, even the novels, there are things that make us want to see more, right? We want to see the sequel. I know the Alita Army has been working tirelessly to make sure that sequel comes out, and I want to thank them once again for their great efforts. We do want to continue to see what happens in the manga, and I would like to see more about the novelization as well. And so this is basically about expansion. And although I will focus mostly on the manga story, because there is so much story there already, this could expand into any of these areas. The other mediums that can be covered, such as novels or basically the cinema, right? And so, what I wanted to talk about is, of course, it's always nice to be able to see the sequel to make sure that the story of Alita Battle Angel, the cinema side, can continue on, going down the story, the path that many of us who have read the manga is expecting for the story to go down. But there are also things that I feel that can expand the franchise and strengthen the franchise. And that is not just in terms of, again, the cinema, but what I'm talking about is the entire Battle Angel universe. And now I'll talk about the Battle Angel. So this isn't about Battle Angel Alita. This isn't about Alita Battle Angel. This isn't about the Battle Angel anime. This is about just the whole complete picture. And are there areas where we could see expansion, regardless of what, certain studios, which we will leave nameless, will decide upon in terms of the fate of the cinematic universe, for example, or what we expect to see as the final parts of the trilogy, for the not the trilogy, the trilogy for the comic, right? And so what I wanted to talk about were additional stories that can be created based upon the things that already occurred in the comic verse, and what I would call offshoot stories. These can be written, for example, by Yukito Kishiro, but to be honest, I'm a little bit worried that after Mars Chronicle, he would have spent so much time on the Battle Angel Alita universe that he may want to take some time off and not go into additional stories. And so this opens up the opportunity for other people, whether it's a novel writer like Pat Cadigan or anybody else for that matter, other comic book artists or manga artists or light novel series, television series, anime series, whatever, right? To be able to expand out and offshoot from the Battle Angel story. Now, right now, I would think that the comic would be the best medium, just because it would be very strange for people in, watching maybe TV or streaming to see offshoot story that happens so far in the future to what the movie is. The movie only covers the first few chapters of the entire 30-year-long adventure that Yukito Kishiro has written. A lot of the offshoots, I think, can come out of the things that I think a lot of comic readers would like to see. As in addition, at least I would like to see in addition, if somebody wrote these offshoot stories, I would be happy to read about them. And so today what I wanted to do is talk about some of the stories that can come up in the future that will expand the Battle Angel universe and provide additional information for us while we continue to, wait for the movies, enjoy the chapters that continue to come out in Mars Chronicle, anything else that may come up. And so, there were certain topics, and right now I will do a quick spoiler alert. Most of these topics occur due to the ending of Battle Angel Alita Last Order, and that's why I say probably the comic medium is the best, because people who watch, from a streaming or a TV will wonder what the heck is going on if they see offshoot stories coming out of the end of Last Order, right? And so, for people who haven't read all the way up to the end of Last Order, once again, I apologize. But the offshoot stories that I had in mind happened due to the ending of Last Order. So if you don't want to be spoiled by things that occur at the end of Last Order, once again, I apologize, but it's probably best that you turn off this video. But once again, if you have been following my videos up till now, you probably have been spoiled to death with regards to the Last Order story, at least. Or that you have been following the comic and are quite knowledgeable with regards to the entire comic series. So once again, I presume this will determine who wants to continue on and who doesn't. And as always, please watch at your discretion. Okay, so there are many stories that I think could be created that will enhance this entire Battle Angel universe. And for the people who read all the way up to the end of Last Order, I think you know many of what they are, because you probably are curious to see some of the things that happen as well. And by looking at the image that you have right here, you probably have some idea of what I'm thinking about, right? And so, at the end of Last Order, why that opened up the opportunity to expand out into other offshoot stories is because the main character, Alita, travels from Earth to Mars to start the Mars Chronicle series. And of course, since this is a single character journey, the entire story follows that. But then it also leaves a lot of information, story, and questions that we don't know what happens, after the things that happened in Last Order. And so today I just wanted to talk about 3 potential opportunities that exist. There's a lot more. Trust me, there's a lot more, that I bet many of you can understand. But these 3, I think, are ones that are personally interesting to me. And so I just wanted to bring it up here. So the first one is, of course, Zalem, right? What happens to Zalem? And what happens to Iron City after Last Order? Because although, Alita did solve a lot of the issues by, saving Iron City and saving Zalem from that plan that Embody had, where he was going to destroy the cities to reconstruct his own paradise, and that's why Alita had to go into the Zot Championship, was because he made a bet with Embody publicly that, if she won the championship, because she was representing Zalem and Iron City, by being the champion, she gets to choose that Iron City and Zalem becomes its own sovereign country, so to speak, or government. And they don't have to bow down to Jeru, and Jeru has to leave them alone. And so, of course, Alita goes ahead and wins the Zot Championship, right? But, of course, Embody is gone and everything's in chaos. So what will happen next? And one possibility, of course, is that Jeru will go back on its word and try to, destroy Zalem Iron City. I do not think that's the case, because for one thing, it was publicly announced during the Zot Championship that this was put as the prize for whoever wins the championship, which is basically the future of Zalem and Iron City. And since Alita won, it will be a major disgrace to whoever falls back from that, because of the fact that Zot, why Zot was important is Zot is not a championship just about Earth. Zot is a championship about all of the planetary colonies and Earth. And so if Earth wants to have good relationships with Venus, if Earth wants to have good relationships with Jupiter, Mars, and all the other colonies that are out there, then it better keep its word, because of the fact that that's what the championship agreed upon, and the other planets probably will have a voice into whether Jeru can pull back on its word, and they probably won't, just because of the fact that that championship was such a amazing way of winning, that I think Jeru will have to keep its word. But of course, then that leaves Zalem and Iron City to basically rebuild back again. And so here is the opportunity. Could somebody actually write the stories about how Iron City, builds back, how Zalem builds back? A lot of it can be just a building factor, right? I would assume that if Zalem tried to take control of Iron City, somebody like Vector and Radio Chaos will definitely fight to the death, against that. And considering Vector is actually a relatively powerful figurehead in Iron City, and considering Zalem was such a, relatively easy lifestyle, I don't think anybody has the backbone in Zalem the way they do with Vector. And so considering he also has Radio Chaos by his side, who is not only a cultural voice to the world because of his radio broadcasts, but it's also one of the strongest characters that is in Earth, I don't think anybody will go against them. And I would love to see, Vector, Radio Chaos, and just like basically in the first story, the original series, Lou Collins coming down to help those two build the city back together again. And probably Koyomi can come down, meet with her father again, kick him in the butt, or whatever cybernetic equivalent he has, and have that interesting story of it building up. But of course, the other is, how does Zalem come back? How can it, survive it? If Iron City isn't there to help support it, And so, who are the people who are going to be governing Zalem? I forgot what that lady was, that elderly lady that was up there. Maybe she will be the one that will help govern Zalem. And one of the frightening ideas is it might actually be Destinova, not Supernova, again, Destinova. Destinova, who is in Zalem right now, to help this lady bring Zalem back. And that by itself can become a seriously twisted story. Yeah, I mean, those would be very interesting stories. And I would be very happy to read about how Zalem and Iron City come back to life after this entire chaos that left quite a bit of shambles, quite a bit of the city, or both cities in shambles, I should say. And so, yeah, I mean, that is one possibility. Now, the next one is, of course, during the chaos, one of the things that happened was that Zalem came crashing down on Iron City. Now, it didn't tip over, and so Iron City is somewhat safe, and so is Zalem, and they'll probably reinforce the two structures that are connecting right there so that Zalem won't come crashing down on Iron City anymore. But if you recall, during that time, since Zalem is connected to Jeru, which is connected to this entire space elevator, in the comic, aside from the Jerusalem space elevator, if you recall, there is the Ziggurat space elevator. And so when Zalem came crashing down onto Iron City, it moved that orbital ring just enough so that we saw the city of Zig actually rise up from the sea. They were lifted when Zalem was fallen, right? And so the interesting thing about this entire world building is, although there is another space elevator at the other side of the Earth, the story of Battle Angel Alita has never covered that because of the fact that, of course, Alita's story never interacted with Zig. But I would love to see what is there in the other side of the world. Now, this can also work well with the cinematic universe because, of course, there are supposedly 11 additional great sky cities on Earth, and they were destroyed. Or were they? Was any of these cities able to come back and resurrect itself? And if so, were they somewhat staying autonomous from Zalem, hoping that Zalem doesn't come to override them for its resources, right? And so there could be a potential story of the survivors of one of the 11 sky cities to start recreating that city again. And then, of course, that will start creating a political strife between Zalem and that other city. And they could even call that other city Zig as well in the cinematic universe. And of course, that then comes back to the comic verse because of the fact that since Ladder was taken out, there is no governing entity on Earth anymore. In which case, since Zalem and Iron City is so much in tatters, whereas Zig is pretty much intact unless it got seriously destroyed during the rise, would Zig start wielding its weight and saying that they would like to take control? And so that will be an interesting story. And why I find that this is interesting is I would love to see Zig, as the story typically says, tells it. Basically, the story is about the life of Alita. So I would like to see Zig through the eyes of Alita, because it creates this maybe entity, or because there is something that happens in Zig that requires investigation. Alita decides to go. And why I find this to be very interesting is because, yes, Alita is on Earth. But it isn't the Alita that we're following in Mars Chronicle that's on Earth. And now you understand why I had to do the Many Faces of Alita video first. It's the original Alita, right? The Blink Brain Alita. And why I would love to see an offshoot story is I am worried that Yukito Kishiro will not cover any more stories about the Brain Alita and her relationship with Figure 4. And yeah, typically I am not one of those people who fan, a lot of comic ships. But to be honest, I really would like to see more of what happened between Alita and Figure 4. And considering the fact that now Alita is human, what happened to her and her powers? Because, of course, Panzerkunst is really only capable of being, done to its full extent if you're a cyborg. So if you come back to being a human, she has lost her strength, she has lost her agility, she has lost her speed. Can she continue to do that martial art? I would think that she can, because Panzerkunst isn't just about that, and one of the strengths of Panzerkunst is because that fighting technique was for each soldier to be able to take on enemies that are far, far greater than them, which means moves that don't require just strength, agility, and speed. I got a feeling that this martial art can still help Alita, but she's nowhere near as strong as even the Alita that came out in the very beginning of the series. Possibly. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. Maybe her Panzerkunst skills have become so advanced that even when she lost her strength, lost her agility, lost her speed, she still has far more sophisticated moves than the original Alita. I don't know. And so those types of things I would love to see a writer bring out. Her relationship with Figure 4. I would love to see those two journey to the city of Zig to investigate what's going on, under the orders of maybe Vector or Radio Chaos. And I would love to see it just between Alita and Figure 4. Yeah, Radio Chaos would like to come along. Koyomi would like to come along. But those two say no. They're the only ones who are going to go. And so that would be a story I would really love to see. And so I don't mind if it's a different writer from Yukito Kishiro, so long as the story is reviewed by Yukito Kishiro and gets his okay. If he is okay with it, and if it fits the writing style of Battle Angel Alita, basically that very dark but very compassionate writing style, then I think I will be okay with it. And so, yeah, that was the 3 stories. So the story of what happens to Iron City and Zalem after the chaos, the story of potentially what is going on in Zig, and Gurat, which which is the city above Zig. And of course, the third is the story between the human Alita and Figure 4, and what happened to them after they got together again. And this doesn't need Mars Chronicle to end, because of the fact that since this is basically an offshoot from the ending of Last Order, this could happen even right away, and it won't get in the way of what's happening with Mars Chronicle. Now, if it gets accepted by Yukito Kishiro, and if things go well in Mars Chronicle, one of the other eventual things I would love to see is the 2 Alitas coming back together for a meeting. But that's something so far in the future that I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. But anyway, those are 3 possible stories that I wanted to talk about, and I just wanted to make this video to see how you felt about that. And of course, there are the other stories. Radio Chaos, for example, could be one of them. Koyomi could be one of them. The Kansas Bar could be one of them. The Hunter Warrior story could be one of them. There's just a whole bunch. And so I got a feeling many of you have additional stories that you would like to see. But those 3 really hit me as being things that I really wanted to know a lot more about. And so that's all I wanted to do with this video. And I thank you in advance again for watching this video. And I apologize for the stupid nature of the subject of this particular video. And if you have any comments with regards to either these stories or additional stories that you would like to see, please, I would like to hear about them in the comment section. So as always, thank you in advance for that. Anyway, that's about it for this video. And I'll continue with more Battle Angel Alita / GUNNM videos in the future. I hope you join me at that time. And in any case, until the next video, happy comic reading, happy novel reading, happy cinema watching, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.